Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. My name is Winged Supernova, and in the last episode, we started the trial here. We started a Case Force trial. Von Zieks definitely provided us with a weird testimony of his recounting of events. I'm pretty sure that he might still have trauma from finding his brother's body, right? Because I'm pretty sure he was the one who found his brother's body. So maybe the experience was traumatic and he was getting some things wrong in his testimony. But regardless of that, we now have 3 more witnesses. One that's BB Hood, one that is the coachman of Case 3 from the first game that was obviously fired and is now a peddler on the street. And the other one is a gossiper who is very, very egoistic and likes to drum up tall tales to help improve his own reputation. But regardless of all of that, we are about to try and figure out what the flaw in their testimony is. And also, happy One Day Till Kirby Day. Kirby, first episode of Kirby is going to go up the day that it comes out, which is going to be tomorrow, right after this episode comes out. So definitely look forward to that. I'm looking forward to it. Right now, the score on Metacritic for it, like 61 reviewers with an 85 on Metacritic, which makes it incredibly good, especially for a Kirby game. So I'm highly looking forward to it. And I hope you guys are too, because it's going to hopefully carry us through April into May, when I don't know what we're going to do, because a lot of the games that I'm looking forward to playing on the channel come out in June and July, so it's going to be a hectic time. But until then, let's just get right into this. So at the end of the last episode, I was sort of wondering whether it was going to be the print showing the pool of blood itself with Gregson's body, or whether it was going to be this showing the floor plan, because he's talking about he came in through the door and then he slipped and put his hand in a pool of blood. I'm going to go with this first, and we're going to try it. It is not this. Okay. Not even gonna waste time. Not even gonna waste time. So let's load. And then try and present this. Objection. It's not that either, huh? Oh, these are different actually. Well, it's too bad that I don't care. I'm not saving. I'm loading. So it's not either of those, so it's probably the board itself, right? I thought that might be a stretch, because the game likes to say that those type of things are a stretch, so we'll see. Objection. Yep. Okay. So you wiped off the blood from your hand on the floor of the room. Are you quite sure about that? Are you sure about that? Well, what else do you expect me to have done, eh? Does it really matter? The police found no such handprint on the floor during their investigations. What exactly is the defense asserting? If you listen, you'll find out, Prosecutor Asogi. Certainly, there was no bloody handprint found on the floor. What are you trying to say? There was a handprint and blood left very clearly at the scene. On the back of this notice board. Yes, indeed. Indisputably a handprint in the distinctive color of blood. Aye, you're dead right. That's my right hand. I'd know it anywhere. So he was sitting down and he put his right hand down, which means that the notice board was knocked over and facing the wrong direction. That's very odd. The witness very definitely testified that he wiped his hand on the floor. Any handprints on the back of the board are irrelevant. Not if the board itself had fallen over onto the floor. In that case, it's quite possible for the witness's handprint to have ended up there. Just look at the floor plan of the room. The notice board was in the opposite corner of the room to the victim, and in an upright position. Even if it had somehow been toppled and was lying on the floor at the time, it would have been a considerable distance from the body. I fell over when I came across the body, so I was basically right next to the corpse, not on the other side of the room. In other words, the defense's assertion is contradictory. Yes, it is. There's a very definite contradiction here, for which there must be a reason. I take it that you formulated a proper hypothesis, counsel, regarding this apparent discrepancy between the witness's account and the handprint found at the scene. I have, my lord. This discrepancy between the witness's account and the location of the handprint is explained by the board moving. Quite obviously. The real contradiction here is the handprint itself, not where it was found. As the court can see, it's upside down. Good gracious, so it is! If the witness had put his hand against the board, the finger should be pointing upwards. What does that tell us? It tells one simple fact. When this handprint was made, the board must have been lying on the floor as previously suggested, which means that after the incident, it must have been moved. What? I think so.
Objection!
You're claiming that somebody moved the notice board after the shooting? Then tell the court who. I don't know that yet, but the point is, when you consider all the testimony we've heard so far, we can now be very clear on one point. And that would be the position of the notice board at the time of the incident, my lord. So, counsel, I must ask you to clarify your assertion for the court. At the time of the incident, where do you maintain the notice board was situated? So if it fell over, right? I gotta position this. So it fell over. I think I have an idea, but I'm gonna try and think this through clearly. So if it fell over down, and he fell backwards and he placed his hand on it upside down, the notice board would have fallen over from where it was situated in this corner, right? Like if the front with all the papers was facing towards the oil lamp while it was sitting diagonally in that corner and it fell down, the guy was right next to the body, right? So he would have fallen over on his ass down after having his hand in the blood of the victim, and then put it down on the message board there. So it would have been over in this corner, I would say.
Take that!
It was right here, my lord. Goodness! No, I'm afraid I don't quite see your logic. I'm disappointed, Ryunosuke. In Japan, we're taught to have patience and respect for our elders. So until his lordship sees your logic, you will know your place and not move from that spot. Really? But I'm right! Don't boo me, I'm right! How brilliant of Kazuma-sama. That almost sounded unreasonable at first, but he was just thinking of you. Unreasonable? Try unfathomable. Anyway, I think I have the answer now. I know my place. Or rather, I know the board's place. So, counsel, I must ask you to clarify your assertion for the court. I thought it was for sure right there. I mean, it would have covered up the body and the candles in that case. I don't know how it wouldn't be there. Yeah, I just don't know. I honestly have no idea. I'm just gonna start guessing things, I think. Because otherwise it doesn't make any sense. I mean, it would have blocked the candles and everything if it was sitting right here, too, because the door would have opened.
Take that!
I don't know. This is the only possible location. Immediately adjacent to the doorway. If the court would think back to the testimony given by the defendant earlier, he said that when he entered the room, it was dark, and he couldn't see the body. Bayek? If the notice board had been here, the body would have been completely hidden from view, and the light from the candles would have been blocked, making the room appear darker.
Objection!
But the accused also claims that the victim's body simply appeared before him. That's true. Or, in his precise words, just as I picked up the firearm to examine it, the door flew open and I heard a man scream. It was only then that the body of Inspector Gregson appeared before me. I don't know about calling it a scream, but he was talking about me and no mistake. 'Cause it was me that kicked the door open. Oh, so they're thinking that when he kicked the door open, it knocked the board over? If you look again at the floor plan, consider what would have happened to if the door to the room was thrown open with force. Bam, knocked it over. Okay. That can't. The door struck the notice board, knocking it over, and making the victim's body visible. Good gracious! My client has told nothing but the truth. He has simply described what he saw. Ugh! We made him wince a bit. Good for now, I guess. Order! Counsel, how has this not come to light before now? After the incident, somebody must have righted the board and moved it into the position where the police, myself, and my colleague saw it when investigating the room. Witness, what have you to say for yourself? What? Me, my lord? You and your fellows were there at the scene before anybody else. It goes without saying that you must know something about the position of that notice board. Oops. The witnesses in the stand will testify again. You will each explain exactly what you did upon arriving at the scene of the crime. Stop looking over your glasses at me. I get the message. I don't know anything about that notice board. I just wiped my hand on it, that's all. Well, don't look at me. I haven't got a clue about it. I was doing business with some second years at the time. I don't know anything about anything. I'm just a bystander, me. Just a sign at the crossroads of life. Here comes the emergency sirens. They saw her light that match, and now they're coming to take her away. It was that Reaper, I bet. He's got a face that screams bored. I can't see how this changes anything anyway. The detective still died when we heard the gunshot. That seems like almost a red herring statement. It's like, I fucking dare you to press this. I dare you. So none of you can elaborate further. Shaken by the crime they witnessed, and with only the light of a few candles and an oil lamp by which to see. We can't expect these witnesses to be able to give a more precise account of what happened. That's right, yeah. It don't pay to expect too much. It's man's endless quest for knowledge that's destroying the world. That's what I think. Do you? Really? In any case, as this testimony shows, Even if the notice board was moved by somebody following the incident, it makes no difference. When the gunshot rang out, the accused was the only person at the scene. In short, the only person who could possibly have committed this crime is Barrick Van Zieks. None of this wrangling over the board changes that simple fact. Quite so, quite so. Does the defense still wish to cross-examine the witnesses despite the circumstances? Most certainly, my lord. Very well. Then you may proceed, counsel. That's pretty much just asking, do you give up? No. No, I don't give up. Hold it! So you admit that it was the board you wiped your bloody hand on?
Admit it? What's to admit? It's there plain as day for all to see. A smashing print of my right hand.
Perhaps you wanted to hide that handprint. So you righted the notice board and pushed it into the corner, did you?
No. Imagine the weight of that great lump. Do I look like a powerful and well-nurtured man?
Well, did you see anybody else moving the board?
I've got nerves of steel, I can tell you, but even I have my limits. There was a body on the floor in front of me, and the Grim Reaper himself standing over it. And there was precious little light in sight either. My bottom lip was all a-quiver.
In other words, this witness is unable to give definite testimony on that point. Yes, so it would seem. Definitely would seem that way.
Well, don't look at me, I haven't got a clue about it.
Hold it!
When you say you were doing business with them, you mean you were selling them fireworks?
Yeah, what else? There's the Priory School just round the corner, see? Those cheeky little so-and-sos have got a plan to blow their school to kingdom come. So I've been telling on them, letting their teachers know what they're up to.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, wouldn't want anyone to get hurt. So I let the school know the kids are playing with dodgy toys. Then, praise the Lord, the teachers take all the fireworks off them. And then, praise the Lord again, the kids all come back to me to buy more. Everyone's happy, see?
What a racket.
Of course, and sometimes the teachers give me a little bonus to thank me for letting them know. It's a busy old life, selling explosives.
Venus is a guileful goddess indeed.
Well, telling barefaced lies is kind of my thing, really. I'm ever so good at it.
Can you not throw fireworks in the courtroom?
Excuse me.
Something wrong, Mr. Sandwich? If I said it was, could we just leave it at that? Wouldn't that be the end of it? No. Did Miss Venus's statement just now bring something to mind, perhaps? Philosophical thoughts. Deep philosophical thoughts. Let's say there was a great liar. And that great liar said, without batting an eye, telling barefaced lies is kind of my thing. I'm ever so good at it. Would those words of hers be a lie too? Or the truth? In which case, she's not a liar. Oh, it's a hellish paradox, that one. Don't you think? I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. But it seems to me like you're suggesting Miss Venus has been lying. Are you?
What are you on about, old man? Trying to cause trouble, are you? Keep on like that, and I'll wrap up your whole body in firecrackers and set 'em off. That'll give you something to tremble about.
You have a startlingly disturbing mind behind that sweet and innocent face, young lady. So, Miss Venus has lied in her testimony. Is that what you're saying, Mr. Sandwich? Well, if it means I'll be burning in hellfire for the rest of my days, so be it. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Can you elaborate, please, sir? Old Blabbermouth here, headed for the room where the gunshots seem to come from. But there was someone else who crept up the stairs behind him, too. That's right. That rotten liar over there. Do you mean to say that you did in fact betake yourself to the scene of the crime after all?
What did I tell you, eh? I said I was good at telling barefaced lies, didn't I?
Yes, you mentioned it.
Well, that revelation rocked the whole courtroom, didn't it?
Who knew firecrackers packed such a punch? So you did indeed visit the scene of the crime, did you, young lady? Good grief.
Well, now you come to mention it, I suppose perhaps. I do clearly remember climbing the stairs to the room, yeah?
Either you clearly remember it or you don't. Well, I shall consider it a fitting punishment for this perjurious... I shall consider a fitting punishment for this perjurious act later. For the time being, you will immediately amend your testimony to reflect the truth.
Oh, yes, my lord, of course.
Did you now?
Hold it!
You make a habit of lying, do you, Miss Venus?
Well, I suppose so. I don't really know, to be fair. If you want my advice, though, I'd take everything I say with a big pinch of salt.
Alright, but you did in fact go to the room where the victim was killed on the day in question, didn't you?
Oh, please, as if I would. I can't think of anything more terrifying.
The truth, please.
Well, alright, just a bit then. I mean, a girl my age is curious about stuff, you know.
Did you touch anything at the scene?
Oh, please, as if I would. I mean, there was a dead body on the floor.
The truth, please.
Well, alright, just a bit then. I had a look to see if there was anything I could sell. So I did give the place a once-over, but it was nothing to write home about.
Alright. Now I hesitate to ask, but you didn't move the notice board by any chance, did you?
Oh, please, as if I would touch anything like that. Just a few bits of loose change is all I had.
The truth, please.
Well, alright then. I thought there might be something worth having underneath it. So I blasted the flippin' thing. Sorry, flipped the blasted thing.
You're telling us that you did move that board?
I think that did slip out, didn't it? What? You deft burnpot!
I don't believe it. That girl doesn't think. So, did you find anything then? Something that you might have taken, perhaps? To sell?
Oh, please, I should be so lucky. In my name,
The truth, now!
I might have found this old pocket watch under the notice board, I suppose. But a bit of junk like this can't be worth much if you ask. Ah!
Whoa. Gina.
So it was you, was it? You're the one what took it!
Gina? Young lady, may I remind you where you are?
That watch there. That was a present to Inspector Gregson from the yard for a big case he solved 10 years ago. The professor case, no doubt. The boss used to wind it up every evening without fail when he was waiting for his grub to come at the pub.
I see.
I swiped it off him once and blimey, he was upset. He gave me a right earful. Said he hadn't missed a day in the last 10 years polishing it and winding it. It meant the world to him, that watch did.
Possibly not the best thing to go diving for then.
It's not all that, though. I took it to Jabez's that night to ask how much it was worth, but the old dealer wouldn't touch it. Wouldn't give me a penny for it. Said it wasn't working. Knocked about and worthless, he called it. Ah! I knew I should have lifted it!
That watch must be submitted as evidence at once.
Oh, please, just so long as you promise to give it back when we're done. Not a chance. I'll swipe it from you if you try to get your grubby mitts on it again.
That's enough. Hand the watch to the bailiff forthwith. This is getting out of control. Now, children, watch your manners. Good lord! The glass appears to be broken. More than likely, it shattered when the inspector was shot.
It doesn't tick anymore either. Which is why Jabez didn't want it. What a waste, eh?
Yes, indeed. It appears to have stopped at the hour of 5. Exactly when the gunshot was heard then.
Which supports the prosecution's claim, of course.
Maybe there's a secret to it. Let's find out. Well, it would appear that the mystery of the moving notice board has been solved at least. Yep, back to the cross-examination we go. What is this? Oh, it's the key! The key goes in this! Ah, there's a tiny little keyhole here. Can you see?
Oh yes, that's probably for the winder used to wind up the mechanism.
It looks a little unusual, don't you think?
Yes, you just need the right key to wind it, I imagine.
Why do I feel as though I've seen something? Something a bit like a key that's about the right size to fit in this hole.
It would be wonderful if we had the key. Let's check carefully over what we've already found.
What's this? There's a tiny little stub sticking out from this small hole here, look.
I suppose there must have been a little knob or something on that for setting the time.
In that case, seeing as we know the inspector took such good care of this watch, it probably broke when the incident occurred, didn't it?
Yes, of course.
Which could mean that there's a small part of the watch still at the scene, maybe. Ooh. Interesting. And then nothing else about it. Other than the cracked face, which I don't think is anything. But, can we check the... Yeah. See if this does anything. Check this now. Miss Usato, do you think perhaps this key could be the key for Inspector Gregson's watch?
Oh, yes, it could be. Let's try it at once. There's not a moment to lose.
What does it do? I knew it. A perfect fit.
And look! The inspector's watch has started going again.
Ah, so it has obviously just not been wound up, that's all. What is it, Miss Usato?
Well, if the watch isn't actually broken after all, I have a feeling it could have profound implications.
She's deep in thought now. Perhaps I'd better start thinking deeply, too. Yeah, it has to just be wound up. Oh, that was a voice crack. That's what we needed. And as predicted, it had very little bearing on the case. Ugh. Now then, continue with your cross-examination, please, counsel. I'm just checking through the, Yeah, it's this. I'm not even gonna...
Objection!
Boom, right there. I'm afraid that's not necessarily the case. Oh! At the scene, we found this key to the winder of the inspector's pocket watch. A key! And having wound the pocket watch, we discovered that it in fact still works. You see, the watch didn't stop because it was broken at all. And that fact completely undermines one of the most fundamental premises on which this entire case has been built. What? Order! But counsel, the watch was stopped at almost exactly 5 o'clock.
Yeah, which is just when we heard that gunshot. It is, exactly the hour.
The time that was showing on the watch tells us nothing other than when it wound down. It's merely a coincidence that it happened to be at 5 o'clock.
Objection.
Even if that's true, the 3 witnesses here all heard the gunshot at 5 o'clock. So that's obviously when this crime was committed.
Objection.
No, that doesn't hold. Why not? Recall what Inspector Lestrade said only moments ago.
The boss used to wind it up every evening without fail when he was waiting for his grub to come at the pub. Said he hadn't missed a day in the last 10 years, polishing it and winding it. It meant the world to him, that watch did.
The victim was in the habit of winding his watch once a day, in the evening. We can reasonably assume, therefore, that he wound the timepiece on the evening before he died as well. Yes, that would be entirely reasonable. But if that's the case, you wouldn't expect the watch to have completely wound down by 5 o'clock the following day.
Oh, aye! Well, how do you explain that then?
In summary, the evening before the day of the incident when the gunshot rang out in that room, the inspector was already unable to wind his watch. You can't mean... What would stop a man winding his watch if he'd been in the habit of winding it every single evening for 10 years? The obvious answer is that he was already dead. Order, order! Counsel, that is a most extraordinary claim. Extraordinary isn't the word. It's absurd. You claim he was already dead the night before? Do you really think that Scotland Yard's coroner would have overlooked something like that?
On that subject, there is something rather surprising. There's actually an omission in the coroner's report. The time of death is not noted.
Ah, that's right.
Wait a minute. You're forgetting that my legs went from under me when I kicked the door in.
What do you mean?
Like I said, I planted my hand in a dirty great puddle of blood.
Yes. So the victim's blood hadn't dried. It was fresh.
He catches on fast, doesn't he?
But that blood could be explained in any number of ways. It could have been put there afterwards. Some fresh blood could have been poured over the victim's body after... I don't believe that one. Does my learned friend think that fresh blood is available on every street corner? Ah!
Well, it needn't necessarily have been human blood, of course. We've been told previously that Scotland Yard has no way to identify blood as human.
The problem is currently being researched. At present, you are correct. It is beyond our abilities. So then, a chicken's blood could have been used, for example.
It's certainly a possibility that it wasn't the inspector's blood at all.
It is a possibility. But the gunshot was heard at 5 o'clock that afternoon. That's beyond question.
Is it, though?
What? Given that the time of death of the victim has already been called into question, it isn't beyond the realms of possibility that what these witnesses heard wasn't a gunshot at all.
Oh, please, what are you trying to say? Us lot know what we heard, and it was a loud bang that came from that there room.
Now you listen to me. A street seller's ears are his livelihood. I don't doubt your ears, sir, but all you can state with certainty is that you heard a noise.
Eh?
Explain yourself then, counsel. A noise that sounds like a gunshot could have been made with...
The firecracker.
Take that!
Something like this. The culprit could have set off one of these to fake a gunshot. Good gracious! The very fireworks that are sold by the witness?
Now, hold on a minute. Are you saying I did it? My pretty little firecrackers only make a little pop anyway. See?
Not 100 of them together. The Venus Special that you sell for 600 pennies sounds like this. As the court can now attest, It sounds very much like a gunshot, in fact.
Ah!
Are you you're trying to suggest that somebody set one of those fireworks off at the scene? I'm suggesting that somebody knew the defendant was in the room at 5 that day, and sought to implicate him by creating a sound like a gunshot for these peddlers on Fresno Street to hear.
Objection.
But even the accused himself has testified that he saw no one else in the room at the time. Whether it was a gun or a firecracker, the only person present to cause that bang was Barrick Van Zeeks.
One whiff of a match and my firecrackers go pop. See? It's why people like them.
I fear for your fingers, young lady.
Objection.
Recently, during my time here in Britain, I've learnt of a very useful invention indeed. Something called a time bomb. Good heavens, a bomb? Yes, a device that allows you to blow up whatever you like, whenever you like.
Mr. Naruhodo, I worry that your unfortunate phrasing there may lead to yet another international incident.
No, wait, it's the whenever you like part that's important. A timed device. Yes, exactly, a time device. Something of that nature could have been planted at the scene. A device that was able to produce the sound of a gunshot long after the culprit had left. Your extravagant claim will have to be substantiated with evidence, counsel. What proof do you have to suggest in any way that a time device was employed to create the gunshot sound? I actually don't know for this one. Steamship. Barclay Prison stuff. We haven't even gotten to that yet. Have we actually checked this gun for real now? So this is the type of revolver that's standard issue for members of the judiciary then?
Yes, and when I asked about whether records are kept about who they're issued to, I was told that for the past 5 years, they've been engraved with a unique serial number.
Oh, but as far as I can tell, there's nothing like that on this gun.
Which tells us that it must have been issued longer ago than that.
Oh, interesting. So that's what we can tell from that. And we don't know anything else, unfortunately. Interesting. It says best to avoid handling it. We haven't really checked the wig, have we? I've always wondered what the underside of a hairpiece looks like.
That doesn't surprise me at all, Mr. Naruhodo. You always want to see what lies beneath, don't you?
I'm not sure that's quite how I'd put it. You must have to use lots of bird lime to keep it in place on your head, so it doesn't get blown off in a gust of wind, I mean.
That might be a little inconvenient when you wanted to take it off again, don't you think?
That's very true. It looks like it was fastened onto something, though. It's got, like, fasteners, which is interesting. I don't know. A timed device. Maybe the candle? I mean, I feel like it could be the candle, right? This is a tough one. For some reason, I can't think of much, if anything. The gunshot had to have gone off when he entered the door, right? Nothing else on this. Maria Gori. We don't know that name yet. don't know about this. Nothing can prove that. I don't think there's anything on him. Red-Headed League. I'm just going through everything, really. Anything possible. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba-bum. Yeah, I don't think it's anything that has to do with that. We can't check the back of this. Bloody handprint on the back side of this. I mean, it could have been this, like it was shoved open during the door, but I mean, that doesn't make any sense considering the gunshot went off before they ran into the room. I mean, this is the closest thing to a chain reaction we can have. Because if it was a single gunshot, they could have just cut all of the others off except for the one at the very end and then lit it. But I feel like that would be quick, right? That wouldn't be long enough. So maybe it was the candles. I think that's the only thing that we really have. So I'm gonna go with the candles after I save real quick. Because that would take a while for it to burn down and then light the firecracker.
Take that!
As the court has already discussed, the tip of one of the candles in this candelabrum has been blown off. Indeed, because it was struck by the bullet, which presumably passed through the victim. I don't think that's possible, my lord. Not possible. Why? Because of the scorching. There are gunpowder scorch marks clearly visible on the broken candle. There are? Goodness, yes. But is it not the case that there was also scorching on the victim around the bullet entry wound? That's right, there was. But as we heard earlier, scorching like that only occurs when the target is at very close range, a matter of centimeters from the gun. Ah! Which means that the scorching on the candle can't possibly be the result of a gunshot. You're suggesting it came from the fireworks?
How can that be, eh?
The fact that there's such visible scorching on the candle suggests that the fireworks must have been right next to it when they exploded. Or to put it another way, the candle and the firecrackers were joined together. Yeah, that would work if it did it like that. The culprit somehow attached the firecrackers at a point partway down the candle. After the killer had left the scene, the candle slowly burnt down along with the other two, until eventually it ignited the fuse on the firecrackers, generating a loud bang. Well, we've proven the we have circumstantial evidence proving the possibility. And that is how these three witnesses came to believe they'd heard a gunshot at 5 o'clock. Well, what a plot. And this implies that the victim could have died earlier than we've been led to believe. The previous day, even.
Now, just hold your horses. All us lot here saw the victim going into the building, remember?
I couldn't forget that flame-colored hair, even if I wanted to. The person you saw entering the building wasn't the victim at all. Consider this.
Ah!
Obviously, anybody can wear a wig. So the person that these witnesses saw entering the building 15 minutes before the incident occurred could easily have been someone else entirely wearing the red hairpiece. Someone else? Do you mean to say? It was the same person who contrived the firecracker trick. In other words, Inspector Gregson's killer. Oh, very impressive, Ryunosuke, Naruhodo. Kazuma? I'm really quite amazed you've come this far. But after all, wasn't I the one who told you that you had all the makings of a great defense lawyer? I also noted the lack of a time of death in this report, a stark omission. But as far as I'm concerned, this whole country's justice system leaves a lot to be desired. Damn, now he's gonna just start roasting the fucking judiciary? Order! Prosecutor Asogi! What on earth do you mean by that statement? I hear that many of the leading members of Britain's judiciary are present to observe this trial today. So we cannot allow even the slightest doubt to be overlooked. The defense's assertion about the time of death based on the victim's stopwatch is just conjecture. But, while the possibility exists that my learned friend may be correct, we have a duty to explore it. Well, certainly, I would agree with you. And what immediately comes to mind is, of course, what was Inspector Gregson doing and where did he go on the day before the incident? Do you know? The inspector always carried out his investigative work alone. His movements were treated as confidential within Scotland Yard. Even within the Yard? However, considering the evidence we've been presented with so far, I'd say it's fairly apparent what case the man was pursuing. Wouldn't you, my learned friend? I do have a feeling about what case he might have been investigating. Yes, I agree. Surely. My lord, the defense believes it can explain to the court the case that was being investigated by Inspector Gregson at the time of his death. Very well, counsel. Present your argument to the court. What evidence is suggestive of the case being investigated by the inspector on the day prior to the incident? Well, it would have to be the notice board, right?
Take that!
I can't say that I find your answer suggestive of anything in particular. Other than perhaps that it is utterly wrong. That much you have clarified most expertly. What? Congratulations, Ryunosuke Naruhodo. You deserve a reward for that expert display. Ah! That's so stupid. Did you just draw Karuma on me, my friend? I think, Mr. Naruhodo, that there's one particular piece of evidence that really does stand out in showing what case Inspector Gregson was investigating. My lord, I have the answer now. Very well, counsel. Present your argument to the court. Well, time to save, I guess. Might be the Red-Headed League. Yeah, I think it might be the Red-Headed League article more than anything, because that was on there. And we'll try this. I believe this red hairpiece points to the answer. Ah, so it accepted it. We might assume it was part of a disguise used to carry out an undercover investigation. Surely not! Such a brightly colored hairpiece would only serve to make the inspector more noticeable. Yes, that's quite true. It would definitely have made him stand out in a crowd. Except, that is, in a crowd of gentlemen from the Red-Headed League. The Red-Headed League? So, you'd already worked it out. What on earth is this all about? Is there such an extraordinary league of gentlemen? The Red-Headed League is currently under investigation for a grand deception. A deception of what nature, counsel? They've been targeting red-headed men across all of London and tricking them out of small sums of money. 2 men were arrested for the misdemeanor only yesterday, in fact. My lord, the defense calls for those 2 men to be summoned at once. 2 redheads? Inspector Gregson clearly infiltrated the Red-Headed League using this hairpiece, so it's very likely that he had direct contact with these criminals. and it's quite possible that such contact led to more serious events. I concur that we cannot in good conscience leave this new avenue unexplored.
Well done, Mr. Naruhodo.
Well, it's another possible line of inquiry for us at least. The prosecution will make immediate arrangements for the charged men to appear. Bring these two Red-Headed League conspirators before me, Prosecutor Asogi. At once, my lord. Very good. We will have a 30-minute recess. Court is adjourned. Okay. To be continued. And we shall save. And you know what? We're just going to call it here. That's going to be it for this episode. We made quite a bit of good progress there, and we lost two lives in the process as well. So we're going to be dealing with 3 lives. I'm going to try and save more often, I think. Typically, I don't save when I'm sure of myself, but I'm apparently not so sure of myself anymore. So let us have our little recess here, and then we will go and deal with the next part of the trial. You know what? I think it's a recess right now, so we're just going to go ahead and finish. Yeah, we're just going to finish this portion right here, this little recess, and then we're going to call it an episode. Because we got time for this.
Oh, there you are, Otto.
What kept you, my dear fellow? Hello, Mr. Sholmes. Gina?
You sure about what you said in there? That the boss, you know, actually died the day before? It's pretty hard to swallow. Yes, I was shocked by the revelation too, Gina.
As was I, possibly more shocked than both of you. It's not a competition, Mr. Sholmes, but I was more shocked than all of you put together. This is the autopsy report in question, is it? Yes, it's strange that there's no time of death noted. I suppose there's a simple explanation, or perhaps it was a deliberate omission.
Oh dear, if it was deliberate, it puts me in mind of the last case we worked on, and Dr. Scythe.
I know. Anyway, it seems that on the day before Lord Van Zieks discovered his body, Inspector Gregson was investigating the Red-Headed League, so perhaps something happened with them. Come to think of it, you had trouble with those League men too, didn't you, Mr. Sholmes? You were taken in by their trick. No. Naturally, I wasn't taken in, as you put it. My sleuth-hound interest was merely piqued slightly by the rare scent of a weekly £4 income. And that scent masked the underlying scent of deception, I suppose.
The 2 criminals in question are the pair we saw being arrested yesterday, aren't they? In Mr. Sholmes' suite, I mean. That's right, Suze, and it was me what took 'em in. Thanks to a tip-off by a good law-abiding citizen.
Indeed, yours truly. So it's going to be that pair in the witness stand next, is it? Something doesn't quite make sense to me, though. The day before Inspector Gregson was found, you hadn't had trouble with the Red-Headed League yet, had you? Why would the inspector have been investigating them? Well, the likely explanation would be that Gregson's own sleuth-hound interest was piqued by the rare scent of a weekly £4 income.
Don't tar 'em with the same brush as you, Sholmes.
Yes, well, then there's the whole issue of Inspector Gregson being investigated by Lord Van Zieks for some reason.
The Reaper, the Red-Headed League, Inspector Gregson, Lord Van Zieks,
and Kazuma. I feel as though he knew we'd arrive at this point somehow.
Gosh, I think you're right.
What's he really trying to achieve here today? All the answers will soon be revealed. Observe the time, my dear fellow. This recess will be over very shortly. Yes, you're right. Kazuma was determined that he should be the one to prosecute this trial, and he was determined that I should take the defense. Just what is it that he's hoping to make me see, I wonder? I get the feeling we're a long way from the end of this trial yet. Me as well. Are you ready then, Miss Susato?
Yes.
Alright then. In the next episode of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, the trial resumes, and we get to the bottom of the Red-Headed League. See you guys then.